Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Education. I am Sir Jerico and I will be your host. But wait, there's something different. Just hold on. And I'm back! Once again, I am Sir Jericho and I will be your host. So today we will be discussing about conversation and its functions. So to dig deeper, come and join with me. Once again, we will be discussing the functions of conversation. To have a smooth to have a smooth transition of our discussion, first we will be having our review about communication or communication. Secondly, we are to set our objectives. Third, we will be having our discussion about the oral communication skills, the conversation and its functions, the language used of every function in real life context. And finally, we are to have the synthesis, which we are to cite importance of the functions of conversation. Okay, a short recap about communication. Communication is a dynamic interactive process that involves the effective transmission of facts, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and values. It is not passive and does not just happen. We actively and consciously engage in communication in order to develop information and understanding required for effective group functioning. It is dynamic because it involves a variety of forces and activities interacting over time. The word process suggests that communication exists as a flow through a sequence of series of steps. The term process also indicates a condition of flux and change. The relationship of people engaged in the communication continuously grow and develop. So we have to define oral communication. Oral communication reflects the persistent and powerful role of language and communication in human society. As Halliday 1978 said, communication is more than merely an exchange of words between parties. It is a sociological encounter, and through exchange of meanings in the communication process, social reality is created, maintained, and modified. Such a capacity of language is also evident in Austin's earlier work on speech act theory, whereas cited that there are three categories of speeches. We have locutionary, we have illocutionary, and perlocutionary. So what are our objectives for today? So at the end of our discussion, I am expecting that you will be able to first define communication skills according to prominent linguists. Second, you are to understand conversation using etymology, meaning, and characterization. Third, you are to analyze the different conversation-related competencies. Fourth, you are to enumerate the functions of conversation, including the introductions, greetings, clarification, explanations, interruptions, and opinions. Fifth, I am expecting that you are to identify commonly used phrases in various situations in every function of conversation and practice commonly used phrases on the functions of conversation in the language classroom setting. And finally, you are to cite importance of functions of conversation in real life context. Okay, so what do we mean by oral communication skills? This is very important as to how we are to discuss our discussion for today. For successful communication, students require more than the formal ability to present well and a range of formulaic expression. Successful communication is context-dependent and therefore embedded in its particular discourse community. This is, according to Bizel, 1989. So here's our the communicative related competencies. Uh, First would be the grammatical competencies, which primarily focusing about the grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Next would be the sociolinguistic, which basically focus on the appropriate use of language, including the register, the speech acts, and the intonation. Third would be the strategic competence, which defines the use of communication strategies, for example, the gestures, the circumlocution, the topic selection, when words are unknown, and the use of conversation management strategies. And finally, would be the discourse competence, which defines the coherence in speech and the coherence and the cohesion in speeches. So the under discussion is being offered as an elective course in the third semester BTech in the Indian School of Mines University or ISMU, Dhanbad, India. The course contents is as follows. So as you can see, here's the set of the oral communication skills. And it happens that our topic for today would be in the number 12. We usually use this in our everyday living, but what do we mean by conversation? So we are to discuss conversation in an etymology, its meaning, and the characterization. So etymologically speaking, conversation is functioning as a noun in the sentence, and it is coming from the old French word conversation, meaning behavior, life, way of life, monastic life. And yeah, considering the historical context, did you know that during late 14th century, conversation is a synonymous word for sexual intercourse. In 1570, it is used as an informal interchange of thoughts and sentiments by broken words. In 1712, painting representing a group of figures arranged as if in conversation. In 1784, yeah, which are basically what we are the conversation meaning right now. It is a subject for conversation and something to talk about. At late 18th century, it is used as a synonymous word for criminal conversation and a legal term for adultery. And the resources would be at, in the link below. So when we say conversation po, it is an interactive communication between two or more people. The development of conversation skills and etiquette is an important part of the socialization. The development of conversation skills in a new language is frequent focus of language teaching and learning. Conversation analysis, it is the branch of sociology which studies the structure and organization of human interaction. No generally accepted definition of conversation exists beyond the fact that a conversation involves at least two people talking together. Consequently, the term is often defined by what it is not. It is a ritualized exchange, such as a mutual greeting, and an interaction that includes a marked status differential. Summarizing these properties, one authority writes that conversation is a kind of speech that happens informally, symmetrically, and for the purpose of establishing and maintaining social ties. From a less technical perspective, a writer on etiquette in the early 20th century defined conversation as the polite give and take of subject thought of by people talking with each other for company. Conversation follow rules of etiquette because conversation are social interaction and therefore depend on social conventions. Specific rules for conversation arise from the cooperative principle. Failure to adhere to these rules causes the conversation to deteriorate or eventually to end. Contributions to conversation are responses to what has previously been said. Conversation may be optimal form of communication depending on the participant's intended ends. Conversation may be ideal when, for example, each party desires a relatively equal exchange of information or when the parties desire to social ties. On the other hand, if permanency or the ability to review such information is important, written communication may be ideal. Or if time-efficient communication is most important, a speech may be preferable. Conversation involves a lot more nuance and implied context that lies beneath just words. And yeah, conversation is generally face to face, person at the same time, usually asynchronous, but can be asynchronous if um, not same time can read and respond later, if at all, and does not fit the con within conversation. Yeah, so let's move on to our third objectives, which would be the functions of conversation, the different conversation-related competencies. So first would be the pragmatic competencies. It is quite linked to appropriateness suggested by Comlet and Carter. It is affected by the context, purpose, and interlocutors in the conversation. Pragmatic competencies includes two sub-competencies, which includes the functional competence and the social linguistic competence. So first, what is functional competence? So functional competence refers to the ability to accomplish communication purposes in a language. It includes the use of speech acts and phrases associated with them. Hence, to achieve a certain function, some forms are considered appropriate while others are not. Language functions classification is based on listing the main functions for which the language is used. So we have first the social functions, for example, greetings, introducing people, complaining, thanksgiving, and apologizing. Second function would be information. Say for instance, you are asking for factual information. You are providing personal information and describing or narrating. Third function would be when you are giving an opinion. So say for instance, when you are asking for an opinion, you are giving an opinion, you are agreeing, disagreeing, and predicting. Third would be requesting. So say for instance, you are requesting, you are asking favors, you are accepting or refusing a request. And finally, you are directing. Say for example, you are encouraging, you are persuading, you are suggesting, and the like. Second function would be social linguistic competence. So when we say social linguistic competence, it is on the other hand defined as the awareness of how to speak appropriately in different situations and to different people, with varying degrees of formality. Here is the focus in politeness strategies, which entails that the more distance the social relationships between the speaker and hearer, the more politeness markers we would expect to be required. So next would be the strategic competence. In addition to the other three competencies, effective speakers use compensatory and achievement strategies, for example, gestures, circumlocution, topic, etc. So to assist when they don't know all the words to say. According to Scarcelia in Oxford, 1992, strategic training helps students to manage output in the forms of the following skills, such as interrupting, asking for clarification, asking for explanation, and the changing of the topic. And what are the functions of conversation? The functions of conversation, including first the introductions, the greetings, followed by the clarifications, explanation, interruptions, and finally would be the opinions. Introductions.
Wait lang, sir. Wait lang talaga, sir.
Go, Nicole. Kaya mo yan, Nicole.
Ano ba? Huwag mo kayo tumawa. Sir, sila Precious, oh.
Hello. Bogart Garcia nga, bro.
Gagi.
Sir, pagalitan nyo nga yung nasa likuran.
Good day, everyone. My name is Ashley Cruz. I like reading Wattpad. And hobby ko, sir, siguro, ikaw. Pwede ka ba maging hobby?
Hi, my name is Christian.
I can't hear you.
Hi, my name is Christian Andre de la Costa. I don't have that much hobby, but I like playing guitar. Thank you.
Yun na yun?
I'm Marjeline Diaz. You can call me Mar.
Diaz? Kano-ano mo si Madam Diaz?
Mama ko po. Hi, Jasper Villegas. I love anime. I don't have any hobbies, but I have many waifus. I guess that's it. Arigato gozaimasu!
It is a general term for bringing or placing a thing or person into a group or body already in existence. Introduce a new topic into the conversation. Insert implies putting into a fixed or open space between or among.
Greetings.
What day is today?
Today is Monday, September 3, 2018. It is a glory day.
Mayong buntag mga bata.
May buntag teacher Judy, may buntag classmates, umakoy, may buntag tita mo.
Magandang umaga mga bata.
Magandang umaga po, binibining Judy. Magandang umaga kasi at mamoy, nagdadalawang buntag tita ni Judy.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, teacher Judy. Good morning, classmates. And mamoy, I'm glad to see you again.
Okay.
Secondly would be greetings. It is an act of communication in which human beings intentionally make their presence known to each other. Greetings are sometimes used just prior to a conversation to greet in passing, such as on a sidewalk or train. So this is very common function of conversation since we are not familiar all of the faces of the people we are to encounter every day.
Clarifications.
So next would be clarification. So when we say clarification, it involves offering back to the speaker the essential meaning as understood by the listener. You are checking that the listener's understanding is correct and resolving any areas of confusion or misunderstanding. You are doing clarification. Again, it is important when what is being communicated is difficult in.
And I know you deserve an explanation.
Empowerment.
Hanapin mo yung ano.
Ma, may project ako, ma.
Basta hanapin mo yung
Ano yung ano kasi?
Ayan kasi. Naka-cellphone mo yan.
Next would be the explanation. It is the reason you gave for something that happened or something you have done. It is a description of how something works or of how to do something. So in class, very generalized. This is very generalized form of the function of conversation.
And we have interruptions.
Kung ako'y mag-aasawa, ang pipiliin ko, ay di nang bubugbog. Hey!
Tulungan mo na ako maglaba doon.
Bugbog ako, nabugbog ako, may asawa na pala ako. Sakit nun ah.
Next would be interruption. When something causes us to lose sight of what we're doing, it can be defined as distraction. An interruption is a type of distraction that is deliberately drawing our attention. For example, when a colleague calls to discuss something, but it's important to note that there's a distinction between valid and invalid interruptions. Sometimes interruptions are part of our work. If we're tasked with onboarding a new team member, for example, then you'll need to be available to contact if if they get stuck. If you're a manager, it's important that your team feels comfortable to approach you when needed. Collaboration is also a fundamental part of mini rules. So be aware that some interruptions may not be unwarranted.
And what is your opinion?
Tandaan nyo, hindi porkit ginawa kayo ng mga lalaki, obligado na silang sundin lahat ng gusto nyo. Dahil tandaan nyo, jowa nyo sila, hindi nyo sila pag-aari at hindi sila disusi.
Ayusin na! Ayusin natin to! Ayusin!
Hindi kailangan lahat mag-report sa inyo. Bakit? Empleyado nyo ba sila?
Sila!
Kung gusto nyo lahat ng ginagawa ng boyfriend nyo, nire-report sa inyo, matuto kayo magpasweldo.
Isa lang! Pagpasensyahan niyo siya kasi yan siya mismo eh. Mga tao niya yan eh.
Kailangan nagre-report. Lahat ng ginagawa, kailangan sasabihin, nakadokumento. FBI ba kayo?
Sandali! Tama na! Tama na kasi!
Ito ang tandaan nyo. If you love a person, just love him, but don't own him.
Digawin ka ba?
So we have our opinions. So it is a view or judgment formed about something and not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. It is the beliefs or views of a large number or majority of people about a particular thing. So usually we can basically see it in some of newspapers, post or online or etc. So since we are all living in a democratic country, we are free to express our own opinions. So we are moving forward to the commonly used phrases in every function of conversation. So it just happened that I find very beneficial online resources that focusing on English functions and phrases using most common English phrases appropriately. So here it is a blog from Marina published on July 11, 2011. And it is retrieved from the link below. So let's click it. So this is how it looks like. Again, it is a blog from Marina and published on July 11. So here, they're enlisted some commonly used English phrases in various functions. So here, for example, the talk introducing yourself in English. So if you're not sure how to introduce yourself, here's how. For example, let's click this one. So I think the functions, greetings, and introducing would be at the same time placed hand in hand, functioning hand in hand, because you are greet first, then you are to introduce yourself. So I think that would be all for the introduction. Second function is asking for clarification. So what are the commonly phrases that we can utilize to ask for clarification in English setting, in English language setting? So here is an example. For example, if you don't understand what someone is saying or you are simply not sure of what was being said, checking the understanding, asking for clarification is essential. So how can we be able to ask for clarification? Here's an example. For example, I'm afraid I am not quite clear what you mean. What you mean by? Second, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by. Third, I'm sorry, but could you explain what you mean by? Next, what do you mean by? Next, what exactly are you trying to say? And finally, what exactly are you getting at? So next, function, explaining or justifying. So after talking about making complaints and asking for clarification, I think it is essential to go through the list of phrases which we can help you give clear explanation. As usual, you'll notice the abbreviation, yeah, for formal, semi-formal, and informal register respectively. So for formal, you can actually ask the main reason for doing this is to. You can complete the statement. Informal, again, informal situation, you are just to say, taking into account, it was clear that you are to complete the sentence. And for semi-formal situation, the most important point seems to mean that you can complete again the statement. So how about, asking for and giving opinion? How can you do it? So in English, you can basically said, what about, dugtungan nyo na lang if it's informal. Second, how do you feel about, then complete the sentence. In a semi-formal statement, situation, what do you think of, you can complete the sentence. What your opinion of, and for formal situations, what's your position on, then complete the sentence. And another example for formal context, I was wondering where you stood on the question of, then complete the statement. We are down with the commonly used phrases in various situations in every functions of conversation. So how about giving you a list of most common English phrases divided into various situations. So here, for example, when you are buying clothes, what are the language that you are to use? So here, for example, can you show me the, please. For example, the dress. Could you show me the shoes, etc. Could you show another example? How about, greeting people on the phone? So you're about to talk to your friends, colleagues, or business partners in English on the phone, but you are not sure how to start a conversation. So let me give you a few useful phrases most commonly used when you have. So to identify the person you are talking to, if it is in formal situation, you can basically start, could I speak to Mark, please? If it's informal, is that Mark? And again, example for informal, can I speak to Mark? So to identify yourself, thank you for calling. This is Mark. And for more informal situation, you can just say, yes, speaking. Yes, it is. Yes. And to introduce yourself, for formal and semi-formal situation, you can just start your statement. My name's Mark. My name is Jerico. My name is etc. So what are the importance of the functions of conversations in real life context? Good afternoon, sir. How does conversation play a vital role in your profession?
Hi, my name is Jigo Zaeds. I am an English teacher. Conversation, it plays a lot. Most of the things that I do in my profession is conversation. Conversation, we are exchanging information. We are listening to each other. We are comprehending each and every detail that is being thrown upon each other. It is a system of interlocution. So it plays a vital role in a sense if we can only make it 80% listening to what really the other person is saying, because if we can only hear and not understand them, it is not conversation. It should be two-way. Okay, I see it as synonymous to communication.
As a science teacher, is there a system explaining how a conversation occurs?
Yes, there it is. There is physical phenomenon that conversation occurs specifically when conducting scientific investigation. Scientists have been exchanged their ideas on a certain conditions.
Okay, bilang isang guro sa Filipino, ano ang kalagayan ng pakikipagtalastasan?
Bilang isang guro sa Filipino, napakahalaga po ng pagkikipagtalastasan sapagkat sa pamamagitan po nito, naipapahayag natin ang mga saloobin natin sa ating mga kausap. Higit sa lahat, nauunawaan natin ang mensaheng nais niyang ipabatid sa atin bilang kanyang kausap.
Hello, Ma'am Kaina.
Hello.
What are the benefits of having a healthy conversation?
For me, having a healthy conversation leads to good understanding, and also it diminishes barriers to communication and misunderstanding to people. When we get to understand each other, we get to get others' opinion in an issue, we get to know them better, and we get to know what they like and their dislikes. That's all.
Thank you. Hello, sir.
Good afternoon po.
Bilang guro ng Araling Panlipunan, ano kaya mga posibleng mangyayari kapag unhealthy ang conversation?
Siguro yung kapag unhealthy yung conversation or pag-uusap ng tao, nagkakaroon ng hindi pagkakaintindihan, or yung sa mas malalang parte ng pagkakaroon nun ay baka maging away. Let's say for example, noong panahon ng mga unang taon ng 20th century, yung mga Western countries, they don't have good conversation with each other like those countries in Europe. Kaya nga, dahil sa hindi sila or wala silang magandang pag-uusap, nagiging reason yun kung bakit sila nagko-compete. Na naging rason din, eventually, ng pagkakaroon ng alitan between them na naging World War na.
As a speech teacher, are there instances that message is not conveyed which leads to unhealthy conversation?
Of course, there are still instances wherein we cannot, or I personally cannot convey my messages in a correct manner. Because I think as a person, I still commit mistakes, but of course, I make it to a point that I have corrected them. What's the importance of having a good communication with your students or to other person, or building a good communication or good conversation with others? First is having a good communication or conversation with others will lead to a good understanding. So it will avoid further complications or misunderstanding between the two parties.
So basically, I have enlisted 5 benefits of better conversation. First, you are to gain a better understanding. Second, a better self-confidence. A better workplace value. Fourth, better self-care. And finally, you have a better relationship. Conversation has played an important role in our lives, specifically when we deal with our socializations. And given those thresholds, let us empower, create, and discover healthy conversations with our social relationships. Once again, this has been Sir Jericho, and wait for another episode of Education TV. Thank you for watching.